Welcome in, and I'll get straight into it. This is how to fix Marvel Rivals Ranked. Now, I will state this, the toxicity, that can never be fully fixed. Not really. So I will not go deep into that. Maybe in another video, but not today. So let's get that out of the way. Now, I have two solutions, which I think together would be the best in total. Now, there may be other solutions, but these are my two solutions, which I think are viable, would actually work, and would actually maybe be actually implemented in the actual game, which I think would be heavily, and I mean heavily, beneficial to the player base, to comp, to the health of competitive in this game, and not having boosted players. Now, let's get into the first one, which is this. I believe that someone has a less than a positive 50% win rate, they should gain less points per win compared to a person who has above a 50% win rate, and below 50% win rate, you lose even more points compared to a person who has an above 50% win rate. That way, you solve a lot of the problems with higher ranks. I know a person right now who reached Celestial 1 last season with a 48% win rate. You shouldn't have that. You should earn a lot less if you have below 50% win rate. Once you hit that threshold, then the game is like, okay, you're actually putting in the work. You aren't a liability to your team always. So you're gonna fall a lot faster, or guess what? Now you're actually gonna earn a decent amount of points because you're actually playing well. And this will solve a lot of problems, which I don't think a lot of people even realize. A lot of people say, and I even said this in the past, GM isn't really that big of a rank, at least GM like 2 and 3, because at least in like the 0.5 seasons, early seasons, like whole seasons right now, like Celestial 2 is top 500, not like in the first half season, but second half seasons, like GM 3, you can get to that with like a negative win rate. You can play 100 games, or maybe in 1,000 games, win 400 of them, 40% win rate, get to Grandmaster 3 and even above, but just using that as an example. A lot of people point that out. You can get these higher ranks with a negative win rate. This will heavily, and I mean heavily, incentivize actually winning, and will push down people who are horrible and do bad, at least in terms of the rank they're in turn actually lift up the good players even more. So you won't have these, or at least as many boosted players, because you still can stack in the ranks, which I feel like they should limit that too, but that's a little different idea. Actually, I'll go into that right now. It wasn't in the original ideas of this video, but I think they should do this. So right now, I think Celestial and Grandmaster, you should have 2 at max of queuing together with someone. Then Eternity Top 500, you are permanent solo queue. Then as you go down, it's like, okay, Diamond, you can queue with 3, Plat 4, Gold 5, everything below that 6. And I believe that will also incentivize, okay, the higher you go up, the more chances your own skill will have to shine to get through the win. You heavily can't rely on your teammates now. You have to rely on your own skill to actually rank up now. I think that would actually be a very good solution too. These very good hot fixes they could do like in a snap of their fingers. But a lot of people will push back on this because I bet some people say because they want to play with their friends. Others say, well, it's just unfair because, well, they want to play with their friends. And it makes people want to play comp even less. Well, it's competitive, not quick play. If you want to play with your friends, play any other game mode. Don't play with friends. Don't play for the vibes in competitive and serious situations. Competitive means you are competitive. And you can't have these moments where like, oh, I want to play with my friends because playing in that stack is way more, beneficial, or I'm way more happy playing in that stack compared to if I'm just like solo queue. Which I get their sentiment, but that's not how competitive should work. You shouldn't say, okay, my friends, they're a lot better than me, so I'm gonna get boosted by them, and then, life is good, I'm a high rank, and I'll brag about that. If they try to get that rank, they won't even get like maybe 3 or 4 tiers near that on their own. I know plenty of examples like that with people I know, not friends with, people I definitely know are examples of that. And even with the solution I brought up before, even if you, let's say you remove that and add the, team requirements and stacking idea I just said, you could still get boosted people, but it would still heavily fix the problem there. And my third, I guess, original second solution, now third, would be this. You actually get more credit for doing the objective, which I don't think a lot of people even realize how impactful that is to a game. That can heavily impact compared to a Strange Portal coming in last second, compared to the Strange Portal happening a second later and them not making it. Maybe if they even lose the game then, because let's say you stop them a little after second point and then you're almost there, they portal, you're the only one on point actually pushing it along while your team is up front all pushing, they Strange Portal get on point. Now what if your teammates were on point with you and you pushed it to win? That Strange Portal wouldn't have lasted. It wouldn't have even landed there. And I've said this in my videos before, and a lot of people have been vocal about this. Let's say it's a convoy map. I always say, and I've said this in my last video too, I tell my other support to move up with the pushing team, my team, so I can push the cart solo, keep the progress going, while they keep and sustain the team. Now, that other support will get way more points than me, because they have way better healing numbers, and probably even higher damage numbers, because I'm on cart actually doing the progress, winning us the match, while they just fight along and push the enemy team back, maybe staggering the enemy team. I could have, maybe, let's lowball a bit, 10k healing in a win, but I was just on cart the whole time while my team just steamrolled the opposite team. Now I only get plus 18 for that, while my rest of the team gets, let's say, plus 22, plus 24, 25 range. People look at that and see, well, that one support didn't really do much. They were heavily boosted and carried that game. Meanwhile, if I wasn't on that cart, if that other support wasn't pushing up with them, and we were both pushing up with them instead, that match, what if the enemy team actually got a hold of the fight and started snowballing us? Now instead of that cart hitting the objective, it's only maybe at least a fourth of the way through the objective it's heading towards. Now instead of giving an extra few minutes, we just wasted several minutes because we're not on cart. And during a loss, if I'm pushing the cart solo, from the first point to the second point, halfway through, almost getting to the third point, the enemy team stops us. I have very low stats. The enemy comes by on push, on offense, gets it through, all the way through the third point. People say, wow, that's a giant healing diff. Look, this one support on our team has 25, the other has 15. I mean, they did horrible. I'm avoiding them, and I don't want to play with them at all. Look at their stats. I also think in the stats you should have objective time. That's another idea of mine, because that doesn't show the impact. Stats aren't fully impactful. Sure, you can have like 100 kills, 50 final hits. What if you also have like 90 deaths? In one of my videos, there's an Iron Fist with 25 kills and 20 deaths. I've met several people on my team, mostly DPS, to be fair, all negative. They have high deaths, but they try to make up for it with high kills, which it doesn't work that way. So I think you should earn more points if you have more objective time. I think that's only fair, because you are being a detriment to your own rank up because you're not playing for kills, because you're not playing for heals, because you're not playing for good KDA final hits. So me as a support, I gain a lot less and lose a lot more simply because I play the objective and win the game rather than going for kills, rather than pushing. I send my other support off to do the work to make sure I stand ground on the objective, because I know I can come if, let's say, a Venom is on the point or another person's on the point. I can come. I am a very good support, especially as a Loki, because I'm number 49 in the world, at least as of last season ending. I haven't looked now, but I can hold my backline, especially if I'm not, like, let's say, Dove. If I'm just left alone with my own devices in the back line, no matter what kind of map it is, convoy, convergence, whatever, that's when I absolutely thrive and hold the game. That's why I get so many MVPs as Loki, because when people don't bother me, I just get infinite value because of my setups. And a lot of people I know in my videos say, wow, look at this support gameplay and he's talking about this, like acting like he's a good player. And it's like, well, my setups allow me to actually look that way. I make it look easy because of the way I set up illusion. Which, a little side note, a lot of people like to put their illusions right next to them, pretty much to the burst. Let's say a group hits the group all at once, so big burst. I don't like doing that. Maybe it's good in certain scenarios, but I like forming a line with my Lokis. One 5 feet in front of me, one 5 feet in front of that one. That means I shoot, so it's like boop, 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 boop. So a constant flow. So let's say the group is 90% HP. That first burst heals them the full. The rest of the two, instead of just being wasted, maybe the group's taking sustained damage over time. So the group gets hit 90%. Okay, one burst comes in 100, gets hit again, one burst 100. It's just a constant flow. There's not a second, except when Loki has the like 100-second reload, which the damage really flows in. There's like all healing, coming in like a flow. Now, if you have that burst, it's like, okay, burst, 90 to 100. Okay, now group gets lowered to like 70%. Okay, now you do another burst. I don't like that at all, especially with the direct hits getting plus 10 healing per shot, which is plus 30 with both illusion. And a lot of people don't know that, but yeah, I make it look easy because of that reason. But now back to my actual thought process and all that. There's also more niche ways that the objective can be played, which can heavily skew a game, or at least partly. Like, let's say Spider-Man goes on point with your whole team heavily pushed up and gets it like 2 bars full, like at one of the push maps, convoy maps, and they get it to like the first objective, 2 out of the 3 bars filled. That can heavily impact a game, especially if you full hold the enemy team. And that makes the enemy team have to pull back and get the aggression off of you guys and their own team. So that means you guys are retreating, you guys are mostly jumbled up, rushing to the point. Well, the enemy team is now regrouping, ready for a full charge. But that's not shown in the stat line. A Venom on the point for 50 years will not be shown in the stat line. His stats will actually be very horrible. Same with like a Captain America or Angela, which is pure stalling. I mean, it will really not show in the stat line other than you taking a lot more damage, and you'll get a lot less points. If you stall for 2 minutes and you stop the objective right at the right time, right before the, let's say, second point, I mean, you won't show up in the stat line. You definitely won't be ace, but you'll definitely be the reason your team will potentially win that match. And a lot of people don't really realize that. They think, okay, I have high final hits, I have high damage, I have high healing. That means I am the reason we won. I have ace, I have MVP, I have SVP. I was the carry in that game. Meanwhile, the true carry, like let's say me in the case of me always staying on the objective, telling my other support, okay, push up. Well, all of us are integral to the win. My other support, healing my team pushing back the enemy, heavily staggering them, pushing them back in a 5v6. I'm really the backbone of winning that game because of me being on the objective, increasing the speed of actually getting towards the point, getting towards the second objective, third objective. And without me, it would take infinitely more time to actually get there, because as people know, it's not like Overwatch where it doesn't move at all. It does move slightly, but it's still going to take ages to actually get to the objective. Now, I would really love your guys' opinions on this. How would you fix Marvel Rivals ranked in realistic ways? Like, I think in my opinion, mine are. So I'll be happy to read your guys' comments in the comments down below. Like, subscribe, and I'll see you guys in the next video. See ya.